What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about One Piece episode 1130. We're going to talk about the new Netflix One Piece teaser that they just dropped. We're going to look at that. And then we're going to talk about the chapter a little bit, 1149, because some pretty cool stuff happened in that chapter. Of course, if you're not caught up to any of the latest stuff, there are going to be spoilers for the episode and the chapter, so be prepared for that. And if you are looking for any of the content as far as manga reactions, when I go over the chapter, discussions, things like that, be sure to check out the Blurted Out podcast. Link will be in the description below. That's the other channel I run. Be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for content over there, especially those weekly chapter uploads. So the first thing I want to do is actually haven't watched the trailer yet. So for what Netflix released for season 2 of the One Piece live action, haven't watched that yet. So I'm going to check that out first, and then I'm going to talk about the episode, and then I'm going to talk about the chapter. So let's peep this trailer.
Next up, the Grand Line.
Okay, they're doing the barrel. I love it. Nami!
Luffy. Luffy, what are you doing here?
Nami! I had an idea. I realized that every great pirate crew needs some good, solid bonding time. So we're having a slumber party!
He's just here sleeping.
No. We are not having a slumber party.
I made snacks. Truffle popcorn for the group.
Ooh.
For the group.
And I fixed the snail projector.
Are they having a movie night?
It's kind of a
I
disturbing
love that.
process.
Zoro, you made it!
You said there was gonna be booze.
So, question: do you sleep with those suits?
Maybe.
Okay.
They're just straight up having a movie night.
Showtime.
That projector snail looks terrifying. I hate that.
That's the popcorn.
He gave him 3 kernels.
What are we watching?
Do you want to do the honors?
Oh, that was dope. Has he always been in there? I've never noticed that. All right, Chopper. Okay, so it's a teaser to a teaser. Interesting. So in a couple of days, actually this, Friday? This Saturday, we're going to have some kind of new teaser. Interesting. Okay, I thought it would be a bit more extensive than that. Obviously there wasn't too much there. I really like the concept of them just having like a little movie night. I think that's super cool, especially considering it's not really, I don't want to say it's not of the One Piece era, because One Piece is kind of like weird as far as like the timeline goes, but it does feel kind of out of place, but also makes sense because they have projector snails. But I guess we're going to have to get an update on the 31st. So let's go ahead and slide on to the episode. So I planned on doing reactions for the Kuma backstories. Obviously the first one's already up on the channel. The second one I also reacted to, but I didn't feel like there was a whole lot to react to, if that makes sense. Having already read it, you know it's all gonna come in, and there wasn't anything that was really done special for the episode, which I think makes sense. This episode isn't as major in the backstory as the other ones would be. It's like, you have the initial one, which is, it's the start. Of course, that's gonna hit hard. I'm imagining the final episodes of it are going to be hitting hard as well. The middle episodes were kind of just moving through beats of the backstory. They're probably not going to put as much resource into, which is fine. I'm okay with that. It just doesn't make a super interesting reaction. However, there was one part that I really appreciated, and that was the ending where Kuma and Ginny are talking about how they're full, and they start crying. And I initially saw something on Twitter where someone said they didn't like that scene. They felt like too much was happening. And I sounded for a second, I was like, man, did that kind of give me a bias to when I see it? Like, am I gonna feel the same way? When I saw that part, I was like, man, that's so much better. I absolutely love that part. And I think it's the voice acting, which I figured out that's Bakugo's voice actor. I don't know if I figured that out in the last reaction or not, but that's Bakugo, so kudos to him. But the voice acting that happens in that scene, the animation of Kuma's face as he's trying to hold back tears, I think that it looks so much better animated. And I'm not saying that the manga version is bad or doesn't have the same feels, but as far as like seeing that scene animated, I thought that was really well done. Of all the things that they did in that episode, that was probably the best, bar none. The God Valley stuff, the rocks, the Roger, the Garp, that was cool. Really didn't see like a whole lot of flair on that. It honestly reminds me of the first time that they talked about God Valley, where they, talk about how Garp basically went there and stopped everything. We were expecting this huge animated, feat of strength from all these characters, and it really didn't get anything. And honestly, because I think that was the episode before was the one that Megumi Shitani directed for 956. I don't know if that's the episode of the chapter. It was before the Ultimate chapter, which I believe is 957. So I want to say chapter 956 is the one that got the really good animation. And then 957, which was like still probably one of the top 5 chapters of One Piece for me, and probably for a lot of people, that one didn't get animated as well. Same with, I think, episode 1000. Just things like that where the milestones, the ones you expect to be crazy animated, don't always get the shining animation because they choose to put it elsewhere. I think here that's fine. I appreciate that ending scene got the best animation outside of the God Valley thing, because that's the major focus. I understand God Valley is huge as far as like lore beats and story beats, but this is Kuma's backstory, so I think the focus should be on Kuma. But the episode was good in general. I actually got the volume so I could follow along. I don't remember exactly what the next chapter is supposed to be. I think we're going to be in the later years of Kuma's life when he's about 17, when he's running the church. I think that's the next episode. And that episode, I think, is going to be really good. So I'm going to react to all of them. It's just a matter of if I post it or not. So I'm probably going to react to that one as well. But I am excited. And last but not least, let's talk about the chapter a little bit, because 2 big things happened in this chapter that kind of changed the course of where the story was headed. The first major thing is that it seems like Brook has some lore that's about to be dumped in Elbaf. And honestly, this was probably not on anyone's bingo card, because 1, this is supposed to be, or this is like what a lot of the fandom wants to be, Usopp's arc, where we get a lot of introspection on Usopp. But so far, it really hasn't been feeling like his arc. And then we get hit with these flashbacks where it seems like Brook and Gunko know each other. And throughout Elbaf, Brook has been dropping hints like, he recognizes Gunko, but they've just been in passing. They haven't really been focused on. At this point, it seems that a memory was triggered in Gunko, which would indicate that Imu probably wiped, erased, blocked, did something to Gunko's memories as she became a God Knight. So, that comes more into play as we figure out how Imu kind of keeps control of these people. But it looks like Gunko at some point met Brook, because there's a flashback where, there's 2 particular scenes. One where Gunko, or who we would presume to be Gunko, is calling out to her father. And the other one where a child is talking with Brook. The child we also assume is Gunko. And it seems like this is Brook from a long, long time ago. Now, in the reaction on the podcast, I was talking about, I didn't really understand which era of Brook this was, because he had the afro, but he had a very flowy coat, and he had what looked to be like a saber or cutlass. It wasn't his cane sword. And also, I think further back, I mentioned that it felt like Brooke had something to do with these characters. I don't know how many chapters back it was, but I was like, it feels like Brooke mentioned something about this before. And it was that Brooke used to work for a royal guard. Now, there's no mention of what guard, what country, what nation, but he used to work for a royal guard. And a lot of people have been making connections that the kind of the silhouette, it looks like his outfit closely matches the God's Knights. Now, I can't imagine Brooke being a God's Knight because should that be the case, I think Emu would have killed him if he left. Because as a knight, or as a royal guard, he's talking about how he really wants to be a pirate. And so what I assume is that he defected from the royal guard and became a pirate. So I'm guessing he just fought for, a normal nation. There was nothing too deep about that. But that nation, he was guarding what appears to be Gunko, who could have been royalty, which explains why she ended up becoming a God's Knight. And I also pointed to the idea that it looks like Gunko has some similarities to Yorkie, or Brooke's old captain. That the more I think about it now, I'm less inclined to believe that, just because it seems like Gunko, like I said, is from a royal family, or at least a royal nation. So if she was Yorkie's dad, that would mean that both Yorkie and Brooke essentially abandoned her at whatever nation that was to go be pirates. I feel like that'd be a terrible thing, and I feel like we'd also see that mentioned. And to add on to that, I think that Brooke working with Yorkie is a very short tenure. I think the Royal Guard is something he was doing for a long time in his younger years. I think he was only with the Rumbar Pirates for probably 2-3 years before they got killed. So the timelines for Yorkie being Gunko's father are a little iffy. I think there's obviously some more we're gonna have to see. I'd imagine the next time we get the backstory, it's gonna be a bit more in depth. Obviously, we're going to have some interaction between Gunko and Brooke, but before that can happen, and this leads into the next thing I want to talk about, Emu takes over Gunko's body. And that in itself is pretty shocking because it kind of gives the idea that Emu has the ability to take over whomever is connected through the abyss, whomever has that kind of like dark magic ability. So essentially, the God's Knights themselves are all vessels for Emu. This can mean even the body that Emu is primarily in is simply a vessel that Emu's been using. It could be Lily's body that he's possessing. Like that in itself would be a wild concept. But to further that, when Emu takes over Gunko's body, we see subtle changes. We see that Gunko's eyes change to where instead of just having the one spiral eye, she has both, which I think indicates that Emu has both spiral eyes. Another thing that's interesting is that Gunko's hair gets really long, and I looked at different images of Gunko to see if she normally has short hair, if it's like normally tied up. It honestly looks like she has very short hair, and that's the mental image that I've had in my mind of her since we've seen her. So the fact that she has longer hair now almost, well, I guess to me indicates that that's part of Emu's takeover. If Emu took over Gunko and Gunko's eyes resembled Emu, then you would take note to say that the hair is resembling Emu, right? It's taking on the appearance of Emu. If that's the case, I feel like that kind of indicates Emu might be a woman. And there's obviously a bunch of different ways Oda could be trying to portray that. It could just be that, the transformation happens when Emu takes over, your body changes. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Emu lookalike, but the fact that happens, I think, is pretty telling. And just the idea that Oda's been kind of hiding the identity. Like if it was, I don't know, just a standard One Piece dude, I don't think Oda would be trying this hard to mask it. So I think we have a lot of key points that are pointing to Emu being a woman. And I'm here for it. I think that would be a very, very cool change of pace. Not just for One Piece, but for shonen in general, for like the final villain or like the major antagonist of the entirety of the series being a woman. I think that would be really awesome. Again, it's mostly just speculation. I think there's a lot of educated reasoning as to why Emu would be a woman at this point. Obviously, Oda's going to keep us hanging for a while, but I feel like we're getting more obvious hints with each coming chapter. So hopefully in the next chapter, we get some more hints, we get some more indications of that. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Blurred Out podcast. Link will be in the description below. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.